Thanks for the invite to this session. As Hannah mentioned, this is the second session that we have. We have a series of three. This is the second one. We are going to talk about the proof of concepts, the important things and the phases that we have to cover in order to have a good and a success of proof of concept. And then next week we'll have another good one session with Janice, and that will be related to the deployment. So that's the idea, to give you the overall, a complete overall about when you are starting with this technology, how you can start to review when you want to test like a product proof of concept, and when you are already thinking and deploying from a production environment. So we have a lot of good content. Most of this content, it's about lesson learned that we have with customers. It's important advices that we can share today. And the most important, your question, you have any question regarding if you already start a proof of concept, please give us the question. We have ready to try to answer in the best of our possibilities. And let's start because we have a very good material. I have this agenda that has, for me, this is the four phases that we have when we start a conversation with a customer, or when if you are trying to for yourself to try to deploy a proof of concept. What is the phases that you need to review and be ready to continue and have at the end of the day what you want to test the solution. So we have to be very specific about the technical requirements. What is the roles that we need, all the process to have these specific outcomes. So that's the agenda we want to cover in about 40 minutes, more or less on the time. And let's start with the technical requirements. So normally, okay, I have already the idea to deploy a POC. I have already with my customer, or I am the customer already, I'm the user that I want to test. What I need to take in consideration when I start to deploy global secure access. Well, this is the main aspects that you need to check. First one, okay, to test global secure access, that means enter private access or enter internet access, I need a license, right? This is if you have been keep the track with us from, I don't know, last 2 years. When we started this product, we was no license. The only thing that you was needed in order to test was enable the tenant. Well, that changed when we went to GA last July, and now we have a license. So if you want to test, first thing is you have to get your license. The good things we have, as always in Microsoft, we have a free trial license in order to test the solution. So we have here, by the way, I guess we are going to share this presentation. You have these links. If you want to download to request the license from the private access, you can do it. If you want to test it from the internet access, you can do it as well. You can download it separately. There is no issue. You can test at the same time private and internet access. Or if you're testing Entra Suite, right? You can to test the different products that we have around Entra. You can download it and active this license, and then you are going to be ready to test private and internet access. So different options, you choose what is the best to fit you, but we have the license, and this is important. First thing that you need to have is a license. Okay, sorry. I have already the license. What is the second part? Okay, the second part, it's about what is the roles I need in order to enable, and the other for to manage. Normally, when we start this conversation with the customers, we already mentioned, okay, you need a license to active. They say, okay, and what is the roles? That happened because normally when the organization are testing different products, not only GSA, they are the architecture team, they are the planning team, they are the whatever the organization you want to test. They are not the operation organization, and normally the operations teams owns and custodian the access and the roles in all the infrastructure. Entra ID, Azure subscription are the same, so they need to request access to have the roles, the specific roles to enable and manage. So that's the case if you, for example, you are a planning organization and you want to have a POC from private access, well, you need to request at least two of these three roles I mentioned. The first one is the global admin. Global admin, we needed to enable the tenant right? And to register the connector. We are going to talk a little bit more in a minute about the connector, but at least for these two main steps during the initial configuration, you need the global admin. Then, if you want to create rules for private access, if you want to enable forwarding profiles for the different categorization from the traffic, you need the application administrator. So depends of what is the scope that you want to achieve during this POC. You are going to need to request or be part of the group that is working in the POC, the person that owns these roles, because we are going to need it. So license is already, roles where we need to have, and then is the audience. This is sometimes is silly that I mentioned, but it's, believe me, it's true. Why I mentioned that it's important, the audience, because normal we need to have the devices that we are going to test. The easy ways to test global secure access is when you have Windows devices. Why? Because if you have, for example, macOS that we supported, by the way, this operating system, you need to have this this device, that means the macOS, registered in a MDM, a Microsoft device management, because we have to register the macOS, and sometimes the customer don't are using macOS part of the Entra ID. So that's sometimes it's complicated for that reason. Try to avoid it. Easy way, easy and simple. It's choose Windows device to test very quickly. Okay, I have already the devices. That's good. Then is the group of testing. What will happen? Okay, we have the kickoff planning. We start to share, okay, the license, about the roles, the success criteria. They say, okay, who's going to be part of this POC? Normally, all the planning or the architecture team that are interested in testing the product, they say, hey, I will be part of the product. Perfect. We create this group. We add these members, and you can think, okay, we are ready. But when we start to test and start to, for example, if you want to access SAP through private access, we register the devices, we create all the rules, and surprise, we don't have any user from the SAP. How we are going to test that SAP is working if any one of us has the access? So it's important to choose the audience. If you want to test a specific use cases, then normally the use case means a specific application and a specific infrastructure inside of the organization. You need to include in this POC the users, the normal and standard users that every day use the application, because with them we are going to be very sure that they are testing, they have the user experience, they are going to give us the best feedback. Because yes, okay, I have I get an user from SAP, I log in, okay, it's working, nothing. But what about the experience in the latency? What about the experience about sometimes it's freezing the screen? All this feedback that is part of the very important from the feedback from the POC. If you are a normal user, you are going to lose it. So for that reason, please, when you are thinking in the audience, think in the user that are going to be part of this application or this infrastructure that is part from the scope of this POC. Then this is specific if you are testing private access. Just to, I guess everyone knows, if not very quickly, we mentioned global secure access, because global secure access include our two main products or main solutions: Entra Internet Access and Entra Private Access. Okay, when we mention that we are going to test private access, that means you have application or infrastructure that it's inside of your infrastructure, inside of your data center, and you want to provide secure access from the internet, right? That's the private access from the internet, from the private access. In that scenario, we need to add an additional element inside of this infrastructure. This is the connector. The connector is going to be a server, right? So after that, we review with the customer. Our customer say, okay, you need a license. You need to be ready with the right roles. You need to include users and group, and the specific user they are going to test the application, you are going to get or ask from the operation system at least one VM, Windows server, to install this connector. You are going to download the agent in the dashboard from Entra Private Access. There is no problem, but you need to additional elements. So that's the first thing that you need to be aware talking about technical requirements. The other, okay, I already have the virtual machine. It's already with the client. We need a security rules. That's mean you need to create an about rule in the firewall from your organization with 80 and 4043. So because that's the way that it's working our solution. So it's not only to have this server already registered and configured. You need to include these two firewall rules to work. And the last one, no less important, is network visibility. That's mean, okay, imagine, and give it 1 minute to explain that. Normally, when you trying to access your internal application, your internal infrastructure from the internet, according to our architecture, we need this specific element, the connector, the virtual machine, or could be a physical machine, to connect or to receive the request from the internet, public internet, arrive to this connector, and then they can move inside of the organizations. This is just speaking in the network language. I need to be sure that the connector that is installed and is configured and registered in my infrastructure has all the IPs, has all the rules, has all the visibility from the VLANs, from the network access, whatever you are building to access this application. Because if not, I'm going to try to connect, but when the packet receives or arrives to the connector, if they don't know how to move inside of your local network, the test will be no success. But it's not because it's not working from the process to create, to send the traffic from where you are to the final destination. So the network visibility has to be very specific. You need to understand, okay, if this test is related from SAP servers, okay, you need to be sure that if working, for example, in the Azure environment, the VNet that has configured all the SAP servers has an extension or is part of the connector server. That's mean that when the packet arrives to the connector, they can route it internally without problem, and with that will be success. So this is important. Connector needed, virtual machine, security rule added in the network layer, and this network visibility. And the final part from the technical requirement is about, believe me, this is so important, about the success criteria. Why? Because if not, we can test in maybe all year, or maybe we can test one use case, maybe the other, and maybe the other, and can be timeless because we are adding more and more scenarios. One important thing, or not more than important thing, one specific parameter that you can consider, it's when you enable the trial. Now that we have a free trial that has 30 or 60 days, that means that if I started this proof of concept, I have all the time that keep active the license. So it's not that, okay, I'm going to test all these 2025, the proof of concept. No, because you have now an active license. The active license has an end date, and I need to be very sure that during these 4 weeks, 8 weeks that I have the license active, I can work and deploy whatever I need to deploy. So one important thing is about the time. The other thing is about the scope. Okay, you want to test SAP servers, you want to test, I don't know, to block specific categories from the internet through your web browser. You want to provide, I don't know, conditional access to a specific local on-premise application. Okay, you can establish during this success criteria. What is the use cases? What is the applications that you want to test or involve? The time, okay. If we are going to have only 30 days, if we are going to test 60 days, if you're thinking, for example, okay, my process or my proof of concept has to be aligned with my, I don't know, my life cycle for a software, and the software has 80 days, well, we need to figure out how to extend, besides of the 60 days, the additional 20 to have the full cycle. So that's the time, the meaning of this section at this point. It's okay, you need to be sure that, okay, you have one start date and one end date to have all this period of time to apply, to configure it, to test, and get the results. And the results, I guess there is not much complicated to see. Okay, if I have my scope is to test SAP servers, SAP application, my result has to be it's reachable, the user access without problem. How the experience, the end experience. I have any concerns of issue when I access this server through the client from Microsoft. So that result has to be very specific in order to be successful. So basically, these technical requirements are part of the initial conversation or the initial planning session with your colleagues inside of your organization. You need a license, you need an access roles, right? You need to identify use cases and the users, right? If you're thinking in private access, believe me, this is important because the other services, internet access and Microsoft 365 access doesn't has this need to additional infrastructure. That's important, and time is scope. It's important, and it's good to have it. I'm going to have a pause. I don't know, Hannah, we have any question in the chat? We are good. We can continue.
Yeah, Kira answered one of the questions, so we're good to go moving forward.
Yeah. Perfect. So let's go. We have already a technical requirement. You already know what you need to ask for in order to be ready, and then we have the day one. We are going to work, and we have already everything in place to start. So first, or step number one, it's okay. Active the license. What is the common issues that we have? Okay, everyone is here. Everyone is excited to be ready to start. Okay, and clicking in the link to enable the license. Oh, surprise! I don't have the privilege inside of the M365 tenant to enable the license. So we need to ask from the global admin, from the admin M365 portal, to enable the license. So sometimes we lose the date that we already scheduled to start to work because we don't have the right person with the right role. So it's important when you are going to active this license, you need to be part of the M365 portal. You have to be the global admin role to enable the license. Another important topic to consider. I mentioned it, and it's here, 30 days, you can extend it to 60 days. But at the moment that you enable, the time is counting, the time is up. So what happened with customer? Okay, Luis, let's go this Wednesday to enable the license. And okay, perfect, good. I see in the dashboard, I have already. Let's schedule our next section in 1 week or maybe in 2 weeks to start to deploy. No, because if you lose these days, you are going to lose time to test it. So my advice, best practice from all these time working BPOCs, the day that you enable the license, at least you need to start to activate into your tenant, start to register the connector, start to download and install the GC clients, because if not, you are going to lose a value time. And in terms to move forward with your planning. So when you are ready to active, is because you have the connector, the right person, the right scenario, and start to test. Okay, I have already active the license. This kickoff session, we have all the elements here. Enable the tenant. This is the first time. Remember, in the technical requirements, I mentioned you need to global admin at least to enable the tenant. This is the day that we need to invite our dear friend, the global admin, sir, to enable the tenant. This is, I guess, is the easiest part, because the only thing that you need is 2 clicks, start to register. Congratulations. The tenant is already enabled with your license from private access or internet access, and then you're going to start to work. Perfect. Step 2, finish in 1 minute. Remember about the user groups here. You need to have, if you didn't previously, you create a group. Normally they call it POC private access group, or a specific area, whatever you name it. You created this role, you assign the members, you include the members as part of this group, you assign the license that you have when you enable the trial. I guess I didn't mention, but the license that we are offering for 30 days has 25 users. This POC can have the maximum amount of users is 25. So, okay, you create this POC, the POC group, you assign the license, you include the users inside of this group. And for this, you need to be the global admin. If your body is continue in the call, you can ask them to create this user and include the members, or you need to be an application administrator to create it. So in this day, I already enabled the active the license. I enable inside of my tenant, and the group with the users is already created. This is very important, because when you enable the forwarding profile, when you create conditional access, when you try to use, for example, blocking or blocking web content filtering, one parameter is, okay, it's for all users, it's for a specific user, it's for one group. So you need to define already. We can use different groups, and I can use one group and 3, 4, 5, 10 users. There is no restriction. So the way that we provide, it's you can organize the audience in terms of the testing for user or group. There is no restriction to or to have only user or only group. No, you can do a mixture from that. The forwarding profile, it's very basic. I guess last week we talked about the basic architecture about global secure access, Entra, and internet access. We can categorize in 3 different type of traffic, right? Everything that belongs to the M365 offering, we call Microsoft traffic. All the traffic that are part of the 80 or 4043 port, that's mean public internet, we categorize as an internet access. And all the internal application, all the internal IP address, all the internal FQDNs that you have in your internal environment, we categorize as a private access. So the way that our GC client identify and categorize the traffic, it's in that say, okay, I see an M365 and an exchange online request to review my email. Okay, this is a flow that belongs to Microsoft profile. I see HTTPS www.youtube.com. Okay, that's belong to the internet. So that's the way that we're working, talking about from the architecture. So in this session that you are already enabling a license and assigning users, you need to at least enable one single forwarding profile. This is important, and this is part of the day-to-day with the customers. According to how our clients work, the GC clients, normally you install the clients in the device. The client, the GC client, requests to the policy server the latest policy that they need, the client needs to download in order to identify what is the traffic that I'm going to intercept, what is the traffic that I'm going to let it pass. That's how our client working. If I don't have enabled any of these forwarding profiles, I have an error in a message in the client that said break glass mode disabled. That's mean the client doesn't have any instruction to identify and intercept traffic. So from the mind of the customers, or you like a user say, okay, something is wrong because I have this error here. What we did wrong because it's doing this message. So to avoid this initial frustration in the beginning of our POC, we need we should to enable at least one of the profiles. My suggestion, enable the Microsoft profile, because the only thing that you're going to see is you're going to review and inspect the traffic from Teams, from traffic from SharePoint, OneDrive, and that's good. You can start to see the logs in the dashboard. You're going to see that the client it's review and picking traffic if you want to apply, and so that's good. So for that, my advice is enable at least one forwarding profiling. If you are going to test private access from this POC, perfect. Enable only private access, and then you are going to start to work with any planning. Okay. From the backend or from the main platform, Microsoft, that's mean I have already, I active the license, I enable the tenant, I create the user groups, I have already enabled the forwarding profiles. Everything that I mentioned in these minutes was in the Entra Admin portal from Microsoft, and that's it. Now it's part to work with everyone in the user. So first, you need to download the client and install it. Another technical requirement, but this is only from the client's perspective. You need to be local admin to install the client. So that's important. You need to be Entra ID joining, preferably. Could be hybrid joining, but preferably it's Entra ID joining. And you start in the first login. That's another good lesson learned that you need to hear. I was mentioned before, okay, I need to at least one forwarding profile to avoid this break glass mode disabled. Good. Okay. In the first login, when you have in the client, if you previously log in inside of your organization in Entra, the token is already there. So the client is going to say, okay, you have a valid token. I'm going to take your credentials, and it's perfect. Sometimes you don't have an token that is active, and you need to put your user and password, right, to start to working and see in your taskbar. Okay, global secure access client, it's running, everything is green, check. What happened with the forwarding profiles and the rules? Normally between 3 and 5 minutes, every this period of time, the client is asking to the policy service, give me the latest policy to know the client what is the traffic that it's interested for me, and I needed to intercept. So in the beginning, from this POC, in the beginning, from the user start to interact with this GC client, sometimes say, hey, I don't have anything, I don't see nothing in the forwarding profile, and here in the dashboard, I enable the private access. So be patient. The first time sometimes takes more than 5 minutes to have this forwarding profile already in your client. As soon as you have the first one, normally you have between 3 and 5 minutes to have the new one. If you, for example, did some change in the forwarding profile and you want to see it right away in the client, the best advice is, okay, disable the client, enable, in order to force to request this to the policy server. So that's important, and it is part as well from the mind of our customers and users. Hey, this is something is not working because I don't see nothing in the client, and here in the Entra Admin portal is working. So be patient. This is the first time that you are installing and configuring the client. So let's calm down, and you will see the results on that. Okay, I already installed the client. Now with the client, I'm going to be able to test internet access, private access, Microsoft profile. If I'm going to test private access, remember a couple of minutes before, I need to install and register the connector. That's mean I have already my Windows server already deployed. I have the ports area 4043 added in the firewalls, in the corporative firewalls. That's good. Now I need to install the client, the client from the connector. Part of this process, there is one of the steps inside of that prompts you the credentials. That credentials has to be from the user that is global admin. If you don't have the global admin, you are going to fail. So for that reason, your body, the global administrator from the tenant, has to be present in 2 times: when you enable the tenant and when you register the connector. So if this person is not part directly from this group that is trying to do the POC, my advice is, okay, invite it in the planning in the same day, enable the tenant and register the connector, because if not, you are need to going to ask for a second time to be part of from the process. So it's better to have only one thing. And the other that is important as well to keep in mind, this is if our customers or you are using already Entra Application Proxy. Entra Application Proxy, it's another feature that we have from several years that working from web application services that you can expose to the internet without need to include this server that infrastructure in the internet. Okay, that's good. As part of this architecture, they need as well a connector. This connector is from Application Proxy, and from GCA is a connector for Entra Private Access. Okay. It's one thing they have in common. Okay, these 2 servers, these 2 elements, has a virtual group that it's not only the only purpose of this is to have a logic organized in order to provide the best way to identify it, to include load at balance and other things. But they have by default a group name that called default. Sometimes the customer has their Entra application connectors in the default group, and the process to register the connector and put it in production are assigned in the same default group. That's mean that it is productive, this environment from the application proxy, when you install and register the connector from private access, and it now is included part of this group. Sometimes you experiment some issues, some malfunctions in the application proxy because you are a user, you're trying to reach a specific application. The application go to the default connector, and they say, hey, this is a new server. I'm going to send the request, but this request is not for application proxy, it's for Entra Private Access, and then you can work in. So sometimes they will say, hey, you trying to do the POC, and I have an outage, or not outage. I have user that is reporting the application proxy is not working well. So if that is the case, please review with your customers. Are you using application proxy? Good. Are you using default group? If the 2 answers as yes, my recommendation is to register this connector not in the working hours, or the customer has to be, or your main user has to be aware that we are going to have a glitch in the service because for that, right? So it's part of that. In our documentation, we mentioned, okay, that's good if you want to continue using in the default group, but if you can do in a better way, or our recommendation is create a different default group. You can create a POC private access connector group, and that will be easier, and try to avoid the other production that we have already. Okay, I already registered the connector. I already installed the client. Now it's part from the users area. Nothing to do in the Entra Admin portal, and that's it. We have already configured the clients. We have already the connectors. If there is private access, we are ready to start to test. we did our homework. We have our use cases, so that's good. Before to jump to the use cases, the most recommended use cases, Hannah, we have any questions that you want to share, or we are good?
We are good to go. Kira is doing a fantastic job answering the questions that have popped up.
Perfect. I know. Yeah. Kira is the best. Cool. Let's with the use cases. You can test whatever you want to test because the possibilities are endless. You can test all the applications that you want. You want to test about the internet access and specific web content, but again, in the first part of our discussion today about the scope, time, and results. We have 30 or 60 days to test. So the best practice, the advice that we can share today with all of you about doing the POC, try to pick one or two that give you the experience about to deal with the clients, to understand the forwarding profiles, that trying to see how easy is to register a client, or how too difficult is to include a second connector in your environment. So try to less is better. Always I say that. And maybe if you want to test only for the experience from the product, this is a very good candidates to test. If you have any specific use cases, that has to be reviewed very with very details, because for me the main issue here is about the time. Because okay, maybe this application has to register in a different layer from the security, and I need to include a way to list the IP address and blah blah blah. We have a limited time, so maybe no is the good time to working. But you are the expert now, and just keep in mind, try to be specific in the scope, and you have a limitation about the time. But if you want to test private access, what is normally the use cases that we have in this space? The VPN replacement. Basically, you are using another platform, another client from VPN. You want to start to test. You hear a lot of enter private access, or someone in Microsoft, hey, we have already a solution that can provide the same and even better function than VPN. So the VPN replacement is the best scenario, the best use cases to test. What is how you can create this VPN replacement? If you want to test, for example, to access RDP servers, or you want to access the intranet web from the organization, you can create a quick access configuration. You add that IP address, and that's it. So replace VPN is the easiest way. If you have already the connector in place, the only thing that you need is create one role. Right, in that role, you need to include the IP address that you want to access, the port, and the protocols that you want to use. For example, if you want to do RDP, remote desktop service, you need to include the port is TCP, the protocol is TCP, and the port is 3389, and that's it. The client will know that when you want to access and that specific IP address, they are going to send it to the backbone from Microsoft, and then your connector, and that will work. In one day, believe me, in one day you can create one rule or many rules to create the VPN replacement. There is no much effort to add rules, because you did your work before to create the connector to enable forwarding profiles. So that's good. Okay, another good scenario to test. I want to apply conditional access when I want to connect a private application. That's mean, okay, I have the same RDP servers that I want to exclude that only a specific users can access, because now with my current VPN service, the only thing that they need is to have a user in the platform from the VPNs, and if they have it, they granted, they have user and password, and it's good, they can do the RDP. Well, In that case, you can include this conditional access, right? You can to put what users or what groups are only granted to access that application through RTP, and that will be good. For that, you need a conditional administrator role to create the conditional access, and that's it. So that's another good thing that another use case that you can do without much problem, because everything is good. The other is FQDN. If you have internal domain resolution, instead to use 172.100.100.10, and you want to put VM app01, enter, and that's it's a specific internal application, we can do it. We have, as part of the private access, that we call private DNS, so we can talk directly with your domain controllers and with your DNS, and we can create this translation and connect to the final destination. So VPN replacement, apply conditional access, explore private DNS inside of your infrastructure. That are the basic scenarios, but give you the possibility to have the experience about to use conditional access, to exclude a segment from user, segment to the network layer. Maybe you can challenge with the MFA part of the process. All these scenarios, all these additional features, right? That it's only they are in the top from a clear and encrypted channel to provide secure access from the application. You can do it with private access. So you don't have to be very complicated to test it, and you can use it without problem. Internet access. Right now we have web content filter. It's our GA solution. Basically, you can again identify users or groups. You want to specify what category of content you want to block, gambling, networking, social networking, sports, whatever the categories that you want to use, you can configure it and apply it. Remember, in internet access, you don't need anything from the connector. So if you want to test, believe me, in one single date, GCA, you can use internet access, or you can use Microsoft Traffic, because you don't have to use nothing else. It's the only thing. So if you're thinking to use internet access, this is the best way to start to test. You identify what the categories of the content you want to block, or you want to block for a specific FQDN, we can do it as well. So there is no issue. And Microsoft Traffic, for me, this is the best and the easiest way to use it, because you know about Exchange, you know about Teams, you know about OneDrive, you know for SharePoint. What is the important thing here? For example, I can register, I can create a conditional access to say, okay, if you want to access my SharePoints, my internal SharePoints, you need to have installed the GC client, because if not, you are going to be non-compliant according to my policy. The only thing that you need is to include SharePoint Online from your organization inside of the Global Secure Access, and then every time that I want to access my SharePoint internally in the organization, it's going to say, hey, you don't have the right set. That's mean GC client running, and it's not working. Other thing, it's about, for example, if you want to use source IP restoration. Basically, when you are using a client, a VP client, sometimes the original or the source IP is not included in the login, in the timestamp that is established when you create the connector tunnel. We can provide the source IP restoration, we call it in that way. And then when you try to see in the signing logs, or you want to do some correlation about the complete path from the client to the product, to the application, you can see from where it's originated before, because you are using source IP restoration. Here in Microsoft Traffic, as well in internet access, you don't need to install nothing additional. The only thing that you need to install is the client in all the users and start to test. So that's the way that you can start to test. you did your homework, identify the technical requirements, you create another session to start to enable the licenses, enable the tenant, roll out the client. Now it's only to test. So that's important, and I guess is the funny part, because now you want to start with okay, maybe we can now to include this compliant network to OneDrive. So I'm going to include another rule to avoid that any user without the client, the GC client, can not allow a specific folder. So it's the beauty from that part. I guess we are almost running in time. This is my last section. We are going to continue, Hannah, to talk about troubleshooting.
Yeah, you actually have a couple of questions in the Q&A
okay.
that I think I'd love to get answered.
Okay. The troubleshooting, give me 3 minutes, and then we can close with this remaining Q&As. Okay.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Love it.
Perfect. In the troubleshooting section, okay, normally in the proof of concepts, something is going to fail because it's part of the life to test. So right, so that's important. Don't be frustrated. It's part of the curve to learn about the product and develop more skills. We as product, we provide two main sources to give you a glimpse about what is not working properly or according to our specs. The first is the advanced diagnostic. Basically, here you can start to check if everything in terms of the tunnels, DNS, the authentication, the domain intra-domain join, all the information, all the technical requirements to be working as solution. You can check it here. It's updated every 5 minutes, if I remember correctly. You can put it here in the refresh button and say, hey, let me do a health check. If you have something wrong, for example, you say, okay, cache token is not working. That means that every time that you sign in again in your tenant, you are not able to get that claims, and for that you every time that you want to use the service, you need to put your user and password. So that's an issue that you have with the configuration with your tenant, and you start to troubleshooting. So that's the part of that you want to test. This is like a diagnostic. This is just to be sure to 100,000 feet from the ground. Okay, how is looking the client? This is everything is from the client. I can see it. When you start to test and you, for example, want to access the RDP, and the RDP give me a wrong message, an error message is not connected, or maybe you say, okay, timeout. There is nothing to check. Okay, in the client, you can enable the collect logs, right? The collect logs, it's included in this path. And you start to review this information. I guess I have another one. This is the last one. Here, you are going to start to review different information, including an ETL file. And then you are going to start to review what information you receive from the client perspective, and what is the answer back that you got from the backend from Microsoft. Here, it's the source of truth. If there is something wrong that is not working as you expected, you will find the answer, at least a clue to review what is the issue in the logs. We have in our documentation a very good description about what is the meaning of every of these files. You can start to check and review it. Normally, just to pass in the Q&A, what happened with the logs? Sometimes it's about the permissions that the client is not working. Sometimes it's about that the authentication in the tunnels is not working. Or sometimes, talking about the private access, we don't have reach all the IP address segments that we need to reach in order to connect to the final application. And for that, you have errors. Basically, that's the main issue that we have every time that we are using running a POC. Don't be afraid. Problems and issues in misunderstanding in the configuration, it's part of the learning curve. So enjoying that part, and I hope that you can have a good experience in the POC. The possibilities and the use cases are more than one, but according to my recommendation, try to be smart in terms. Okay, let's test in one of two use cases, and then if the product works as we expected, if we like it as the Microsoft is proposed, we can move forward to move in the production environment, and then you can deploy all the use cases, all the scenarios that you want. That's the reality, and that's my advice. And basically, with that is the Q&A. I guess we can read the question that we have. Hannah, let me, I guess, stop the sharing and check. Or do you want to keep it the slide here?
Just keep the slide on. I think that's
okay,
fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, one of Sikira is answering some, but there's one question here. If I'm thinking of a bigger deployment of private access, can you get rid of your on-prem domain and domain controllers? Where would you see the biggest blocker for this?
Well, if you want to remove the domain controllers, that's mean that everything will be resolving directly from the cloud. I guess that will be a challenge, because a lot of the customers that we have been working, they have a specific application that part of the legacy, it's the source code. Sometimes is no one is doing it's manage that application, and the value from the business to shut down that application is it's so expensive, they prefer to keep it. So if you want to reel the domain controllers, I guess the first thing that you need to check, it's all the avoid to have an hybrid authentication, and everything has to be in the cloud. If you achieve it, that I guess that will be the first and the main milestone to have. I guess you are using ADFS or something like that to have part of the authentication in your on-premise and the other part in cloud. If you want to read that and you can be completely cloud authentication, I guess that should be the focus. And yes, I guess it's the best answer and the short I can share.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Another question: does internet access replace the need for protective DNS, like DNS filter?
Well, we are using private DNS, right? Just to the possibility to talk directly to DNS with your infrastructure, but we are not using at this moment any additional security layer in the DNS. There is an idea. There is a part of our list to include security in the DNS layer resolution on that. But at this moment, our scope and our goal was to be 100% compatible with the domain controllers. And at the moment that we enable private DNS, it doesn't matter how many and what place of your infrastructure has your domain controllers. Using GC client, you can resolve it internally. That was our goal, and we meet that scope. But basically, at this moment, no, we don't have more details and can share about this additional layer from additional security from DNS layer. No, and not at this moment.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's see. There's one more question. When you have multiple connectors in a group for CA or HA, how fast does a user session fail over to the backup server if the primary fails?
Good question. Well, basically, I have here the minimum that we recommended are 2. right? To have the high availability, and the minimum configuration is to have 4 VPCUs, and I guess it's 8 gigabits in RAM. More or less give you a throughput about 1.5 gigabits per second. With that, the experience to change to the active, one thing is important. We are not using active and master and slave. Both of them are working, and at the same time, the group, the virtual group. One of the reason of the purpose is to have the balance. They come a one request, they send it to the connector A. The second request go to the connector B, and they are using, I guess it's the round robin algorithm to try to balance the traffic. If you are asking how fast is to change from the one connector is failing to the another, I'm not quite sure if you are already connected in the one, you fail over to the B, or this connection is dropped and you need to include it in a second connector. I don't know, Hannah, if we can get the name of the who is as in doing this question to investigate it and reply back, because I don't know if we have this scenario when we are able to change the flow to the remaining connector, or you need to enforce to go with another connection. No, I guess not. We need to answer offline, because no, I don't know what should be the metric for that.
Yeah, I could just suggest that they reach out to you on LinkedIn. Would that be
Yep.
okay?
Oh yeah, yes, perfect. Yes. Happy to
Yeah.
have that conversation offline. Just sure. My gosh, the time flies. Almost an hour. Yeah.
That was all of our questions online or in the QA. So yeah, brings us to time. I want to thank everyone who hopped on today, and thank you, Luis, for coming and presenting this awesome material we have here. And also to remind people that we have next week our last session in this 3-part series. So please tune in next week as well. Everyone have a good rest of their day, wherever you may be, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Hannah.
Mm-hmm.